Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Gustav Sjöqvist and his chamber choir. It is now a great pleasure to present the Mayor of Stockholm, Mr. Sten Nordin.
Nobel Laureates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, most welcome to the Eric Ericssonhallen. Once a church for the fleet, you could say, now a concert hall with all the blessings from the church when it comes to that transformation. And we're very happy to have the ability to invite you here. And you should know during the evening that singing in a choir, it's like a Swedish movement, you could say. It's very popular in Sweden to do that, and we love that very much. And we are very proud tonight to be able to present to you both newly written and traditional Swedish music. The city of Stockholm is, of course, very proud to host the third Nobel Laureate Symposium on global sustainability. For a fast-growing city, with ambitions to combine the growth of the city with high standard, and to combine that with sustainability. It is both natural and important, not only to support, but more important to listen to research and science. Last year, 2010, the city of Stockholm was appointed the first green capital of Europe by the EU Commission. That award we got both for what we have done in the past and what our plans for the future. Let me mention two examples for the past. District heating, something everyday natural thing, you could say, but of course very important, because that has given us more sunny days, but even more important, a healthier air to breathe. And the other thing from the past, I think, is that we early started to clean the water around Stockholm. Stockholm is a lady on water, and it's like a symbol for us. And already during the 70s, we started a huge program to clean the water because it was unhealthy and you could say poisoned in Stockholm as around many other cities around the world. And I think we have succeeded. A few years ago, when we ran to get the Olympic Games to Stockholm, a former mayor wanted to prove how clean the water is. So he took a glass, stood outside the city hall, and took it directly from the Lake Mälaren and drank it out. And I can assure you, this mayor is still with us. But as I said, this award is given us for the plans for the future. And let me also there mention two examples. We are building eco-friendly districts. 10 years ago, we started to build Hammarby Sjöstad, a city district with 10,000 flats, a lot of workplaces, and a city, a part of the city who is eco-friendly. And now we have started the next generation of eco-friendly city district, Stockholm Royal Seaport. And of course we are very proud that people, delegations, scientists, companies coming from all over the world to look at Hammarby Sjöstad and now Stockholm Royal Seaport. Another important thing for us is to maintain not only maintain, but also expand the use of public transportation. Today, 79% of Stockholmers use public transportation in the rush hours. But we want to go further. And we now are building a new, modern tram system. We have congestion charges. We are working hard to modernize the existing system for public transportation. The things we do for sustainable urban development do we together with the private enterprises and companies, and we do it more and more together with the universities, with research and science. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a strong belief that politics must more than today, be in a close contact with research and science to make our decisions safer and better. So at that background, of course, I'm very happy that the city of Stockholm has the chance, I would say, the privilege to support the third Nobel Laureate Symposium on Global Sustainability. So, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this evening, enjoy the concert, and afterwards we will have a nice, of course, ecological buffet dinner together. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Johan Rockström, Chairman of the Third Nobel Laureate Symposium.
Thank you for coming tonight, dear friends in the common pursuit of a sustainable world. We didn't get the Olympic Games, but we got the third Nobel Laureate Symposium on Global Sustainability. And we're so happy and proud of having not only 20 Nobel laureates here, but also in total some 60 engaged thinkers, doers, and leaders, all gathering on a high-level discussion to formulate a vision for a better world. And it all was successful thanks to something very special, a call from Stockholm. A call from Stockholm is, of course, something very special for Nobel laureates. But this was a second call from Stockholm where we asked Nobel laureates to come back to the city, which also is special in terms of a call to Stockholm when it comes to environment in the planet. Because everyone in the world knows that in Stockholm, the whole history of global environment for development started in 1972. This is the place on the planet where the front thinking happens. And it's so wonderful to have the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, the Stockholm Environment Institute, the Bayer Institute of Ecological Economics, the Stockholm Resilience Center, and the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research together joining forces in this dialogue. The Crown Princess Victoria started off the day this morning by saying that she was so concerned when she listened to science in terms of the negative environmental trends, in terms of how it's now undermining our efforts to alleviate poverty. What is happening is that science is even showing that we may even have entered a new geological era, the Anthropocene, where humans are the main drivers of change at a planetary scale. This scared the Crown Princess so much that she said, this is not any call from Stockholm. This is a 911 call from the future. And we picked up that receiver this morning and said, yes, this generation has a responsibility, not on doom and gloom, but really to explore possibilities for the future. And we realize, of course, as scientists, that we're only one half of the story, and that we need this collision between science, culture, between brain and heart. And I know nobody else to do this better, to make that collision, than my dear friend and colleague Mattias Klum, with whom I'll now try to share with you what have we been talking about during these couple of days. And Mattias Klum, as you know, is thank you. A world-famous photographer, filmmaker, thinker, doing on the challenges of sustainable development. And it is a humbling experience where you look right out into the Milky Way and so to say are reminded by the fact that our planet Earth and the stable equilibrium we have is our only one Earth. But I wonder, Mattias, they tell me that you've taken all the pictures here tonight, but surely that must be a satellite.
That is with my own homemade Hubble telescope. No, actually it's in Mahadi salt pan in Botswana during an assignment there. And as you all know, I'm sure, and we can really feel constantly that it's harder and harder to look into space and have this view due to tons of pollution, and not least light pollution. So this rather unique view at the Milky Way is a privilege lying on your back at the Mahadi salt pans. You'll see it even clearer in your brochure, I guess. But no, it's truly a privilege.
Now, of course, science has models, science has theories, science has a very hard work of exploring the unknown. But unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, there are red flags in the planet for us to see. This picture here reminds us of the accelerated melting of our polar regions, to be seen with our very eyes. But tell us, Mattias, where is this picture actually from?
Well, this is on the other side, down there in Antarctica. It's actually in the Antarctic Peninsula. And these are tiny icebergs. They are merely something you can climb on, or you can actually look for penguins and do your... They're beautiful sculptures, obviously, of wind and water. But what is staggering and quite frightening and intimidating while you're there is you realize that these shaped, beautiful sculptures are coming out in huge amounts, much, much greater than possibly before. And some of them are many square kilometers, exceeding that actually in surface and size, which is in a sense intimidating due to its mass. So it's both a problem and beauty in the same picture. In 1988, as a 20-year-old, I came to Borneo for the first time. And this picture is a sad comment on what Borneo looks like today. 75% of the logged over rainforest in Borneo looks like this. It looks actually like something taken out of Lord of the Rings, only the orcs are missing. But this is not fiction. This is not Peter Jackson's genius that comes out. This is what Borneo, the third largest island in the world, looks like today. Actually, more than, what should I say? It's actually, one would say, during the 80s and 90s, more hardwood was exported from Borneo than from South, Central America, and Asia and Africa combined, actually, which is completely unbelievable. So it's...
This vision also represents one of the core discussions we've had today, namely the fact that this, of course, is driven very much by the economic paradigm we have, which pushes ourselves to move, so to say, towards a profit gain on the short term. But it's also representing the inequities we see in the world, with development being a key driver of poverty and vulnerable communities. But it also shows something very dramatic, namely that cutting down forests in Borneo shifts the whole moisture pattern in that part of the world, triggering a different frequency of fires, which in itself releases greenhouse gases, accelerating the melting of the polar regions, affecting immediately livelihoods in different parts of the world, and that we today can show scientifically that we're actually living in an entirely connected planet in terms of the need to be stewards of all the systems on the planet, even for our local livelihoods in a city like Stockholm, despite being very, very far away.
It's easy to become defeatist when you talk about these things, but looking at that picture over there in Raja Ampat in the western Birdhead Peninsula in New Guinea, or Western Papua as it's called, is a great example of a living an extraordinarily diverse world still. It's sort of a legacy that's still alive, and it's absolutely. I just came from there actually. I produced a film that's on right now, and what's interesting with this particular place is that it has some resilience when it comes to the bleaching of the coral reefs that has actually affected more than 30% of the coral reefs in the world. And this is because of the conveyor belt currents, according to science, so that this actual microclimate there is chilled down just so ever slightly, so that this particular coral reef is still very much undisturbed by bleaching. Another thing that's interesting, I must say, is that it's one of the richest in the world, if not the richest. 1,550 known species of fish and more than 650 species of coral. That might sound interesting, but it's actually unbelievable. It's 10 times the amount of coral found in for example, the you tell me.
Now this is also an image, I should say, reminding us of the importance of biodiversity. That's what we were supposed to talk about. No, sorry. You know, we talked today, it was just that I was so deep into one of the dialogues we had this morning, where we're close, as you know, of, so to say, creating artificial life at the small bacteria scale. And at the same time, we're actually eradicating species faster than ever before. We're in the 6th mass extinction of species on the planet, the first generated by us humans. And we often think that preserving biodiversity is only a question of preserving biodiversity. But in fact, it's much more than that, as you point out. It's our toolbox for a resilient future. It's our treasure of genetics, but it's also a way of creating strong landscape that can deal with and buffer shocks and surprise along the way. And of course, moving from that biodiverse richness to that anthropogenic landscape, which is another picture that you've taken from the world's most populated country in the world, Rwanda. It is a fabulous picture because it reminds us of the tremendous pressures, the labor, the struggle for livelihood, the responsibility we have in a planet that soon has 9 billion people, of which 8 billion people will be born in today developing countries. But it's also an enormous representation of the fact that we are ecosystem engineers in our own right. We are part of the biosphere. We're integrated with the planet.
Yeah, that was actually during an assignment for the New York Times, and the actual assignment was to take part in a census counting mountain gorillas. So it's also a balancing act to see whether these three countries, Rwanda, Uganda, and Congo, DRC, can sustain a unique biodiversity in the midst of this highly overpopulated Rwanda with, and Congo with militia, and Uganda with their issues. So this census was the first in many, many years, actually, and we found little more than 700 mountain gorillas. So this is really, in a way, what this symposium also can deal with, is to balance these values and look at this in a holistic perspective and not silo think the issues.
Now we have just one vision left.
Well, this is the kind of a Tarzan and Jane picture where people tell me I have the best job in the world. And I think I do every once in a while, even though I forget things due to my cerebral malaria, and I never see my kids and my wife. We're still married, but you know. But this is actually one of the places in Iguazu, incredibly diverse. And again, this can be seen as a legacy frame, a legacy image of what is it we want to leave behind. When I wake up in the morning and I want to feel that I'm doing something good, we all like that sensation every once in a while, I guess. And when I give up, when I feel defeatist, because I've worked in 100 countries, it feels like I've traveled through purgatory and hell to find slices of heaven. I look at my two kids, Einar and Ansgar, 6 and 9. Curly-haired, blonde, little Swedish boys, still ignorant to these issues in a sense, even though we try to force them not to buy palm oil products. I think of them and I think that this and Raja Ampat and Borneo will not look the same when they're my age. So however simple that thought might be, however irrelevant, I think it's incredibly important, as you suggested in the beginning, to link empirical knowledge with emotions. Link heart and brain. However smart we are, however we try to resolve these issues with analysis and science, we have to link these dilemmas to our hearts. And sometimes that can be done through beautiful music, sometimes even, if we're lucky, through imagery in combination with science.
Mm-hmm. So all these images together, if you put them all together, represent, in my mind, very much the heart of the dialogue that we're pursuing today and tomorrow. It's a deep concern conveyed by science, here in forms of images, but it's also a sense of, yes, if we reconnect to the biosphere, if we understand that we're part of the system, that it's our development which is at stake, and if we mobilize that force into innovations, into ingenuity, into new ways of relating to the peoples of the world, recognizing the responsibility we have also to build equity, we can transform. There was a very interesting conclusion today in a mock trial between planet Earth and humanity that there is scientific evidence to suggest that we can transform into a safe, sustainable future, but it will require a new type of collective action, and it will require a new way of also relating to these challenges. And we believe very strongly, and that's why we're all here tonight, that it cannot be done just through science, but science and art. And this is one way of representing that. So again, thanks for coming here, and thanks you, Matthias, for this dialogue.
Thank you.
And I'll have to ask you to step down there.
Absolutely.
Thanks. So yes, science explores the unknown. Science is always in the search of truth, but we discussed today that truth is always something relative. Science also needs to convey its findings, and science is more and more concerned than ever that it needs to take this responsibility of bridging science and action. Now, that's a very difficult thing to do. In fact, scientists are not always very engaged and good at doing that. But one innovative way of doing that is, of course, to partner up with other parts of activities in society that does the same, exploring the unknown. And art really does explore the unknown. And a concert tonight focusing on hope, bridging two arts of exploring the unknown, science and art, can be one way of achieving a spark of action. So we have the organizers of the symposium and the city of Stockholm, thanks Sten for supporting us, commissioned a special choral piece for this Nobel Laureate Symposium. And it is a combination of a text by the Nobel Laureate Symposium, and it's composed by our most famous composer, Sven-David Sandström. Please take the stage.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. And this is truly an honor for those of you who come from far away. Well, there's no one better than Sven-David Sandström to take on a challenge like this. And I wonder, if I may ask you, I mean, how do you see science and culture working together to contribute to a sustainable world?
Yeah, it is interesting to listen to Matthias when he talks about his taking forward his pictures. He's traveling around the world, a wonderful life, and bring this focusing back to us in a very important way. I'm sitting on my back the whole days in my home, and in a way I'm trying to do the same, I think. Focus on important things in life that it's bothering me. I think it's no difference really. We try to survive in this life, and we try to do the best we can if we are clever people, yeah. So, and as a composer, I think I can give very much to all of you. I'm rather sure about that. And that's why I'm so eager to do it, because I think it's a way of surviving too. When I go to concert anyhow, myself, suddenly something reached me that never touched me before, and I don't know what it is. And I go home, and something new is happening inside me. And that's fabulous. And that's an experience that we all get when we hear music, you know it. Suddenly you don't know what to say, you just, what is that? There's a secret, of course. And that's so important that we have that inside us, to be able to create a good word. I'm totally sure about that. Excuse me, it was a very long answer to this very short question.
No, it was a very good answer, and we're so honored and lucky that you felt that way in engaging in this difficult task. Had I not been awake, I would have missed it, writes Symposium in one of his poems from the human chain that you've composed for us tonight. We scientists continuously feel that leaders in the world are not awake to the challenges and opportunities facing humanity. How do you see, can music awaken the awareness of our political leaders to start acting more rapidly towards sustainable development?
It's a sort of philosophical answer to that, of course. We can make very strong music so they wake up when they sleep at the concert. That could be a bit. But that's another thing. You don't mean that, I think. Sometimes I write very strong music myself, but it's not because of that either, because it has to do with the text. I think that reflecting in the way we are doing when we listen to a concert is totally necessary to calm down, for instance, and to open the ears for some message. That's very important. Then you can get new thinking out of this. And of course, it's the same for all people. You mustn't be in your situation or in other. You can be a bus driver or whatever. It's the same problem for all of us. And we need this I call it relaxation, and I call it simple like that. Listen to some spiritual touching in your ears and in your heart, and so. And this text that you read now was very important for me, of course, when I started this. You wished that I should use this text, and it's a very difficult text, my God. You have it in front of you, and it should be very nice if you can follow it when you hear this. It's in 3 parts, and that's, of course, it's very full of inspiration when it's difficult, because then it's so many possibilities to think about it. It's not no truth in it. It's millions of truths. It's unlimited, as music is unlimited, and everything is unlimited, of course. And that's a hope. That's a beautiness. Yeah.
So next time I get the opportunity to have 15 minutes with our Minister for the Environment, I'll let you compose my PowerPoint.
I do that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
That'll be good. Last question. So global sustainability is very complex stuff. And Seamus Heaney's texts are also very challenging. I mean, share with us, kind of hand on heart, was this piece of cake doing, or was it a bloody nuisance to get this composition?
Cake is not the truth. It's more than that. It's many cakes, put together. It's very complex, and it's many levels or layers of complexity put together. And I made it even more complex myself, because I put together the poems in a different way to have it like that. And I don't know that when you work with a text as a composer, of course, you find certain words that inspire you, as the beginning here, for instance. And suddenly comes a word that I stay on for a long time. So it's a very different piece from reading it and sing it. It's very different things. So that's a way of, that's my way of reading the text. And I have an idea when I use a text. I try to transform it to music. Instead of listening to the words, just listen to the music in a way, because that's my thinking about this text.
I think we should not keep the audience in more suspense now. It is a world premiere after all, and it's Sven David Sandström's choral piece of Seamus Heaney's Human Chain. It's based on a poem that came out just 2 years back, performed by Professor Gustav Sjökvist again with his chamber choir, and we have the privilege also to have it recited by the critically acclaimed playwright and actor Lou Kauppi, who will read the text. Lou kindly replaces. Thank you, Sven David. Lou Kauppi very late came in and stepped in instead of Elin Klinga, who gave birth to a child a bit prematurely than planned. So really part of intergenerational thinking here. So Lou, it's fantastic that you're here, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Had I not been awake, I would have missed it. A wind that rose and whirled until the roof pattered with thick leaves of the sycamore and got me up. The whole of me, a patter, alive and ticking like an electric fence. Had I not been awake, I would have missed it. It came and went so unexpectedly, and almost it seemed dangerously returning like an animal to the house, a career blast that there and then lapsed ordinary. But not ever after, and not now. Medium 14-carat nib, 3 gold bands in a clip-on screw top, in the mottled barrel a spatulate thin pump action lever. The shopkeeper demonstrated. The nib uncapped, treating it to its first deep snorkel in a newly opened ink bottle. Who is coming to the ash pit? Walking tall, as if in a procession, bearing in front of her a slender pan, withdrawn just from underneath the firebox, weighty, full to the brim with whitish dust and flakes, still sparking hot, that the wind is blowing into her apron bib, into her mouth and eyes, while she proceeds unwavering, keeping her burden horizontal still. Hands in a tight, sore grip round the metal knob, proceeds until we have lost sight of her, where the worn path has turned behind the henhouse. Guttery, snottery, letting it rest, then at an angle to ingest, giving us time to look together and away from our parting, due that evening to my long hand, dear. To them, next day. Seeing the bags of meal passed hand to hand in close up by the aid workers and soldiers firing over the mob. I was braced again with the grip on 2 sack corners, 2 packed walls of grain. I'd worked 2 lugs to give me purchase, ready for the heave. The eye to eye, 1, 2, 1, 2, upswing on the trailer, then the stoop and drag and drain of the next lift. Nothing surpassed that quick unburdening, back breaks truest payback. A letting go which will not come again. Or it will, once and for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now very proud to present the Nobel Laureate in Literature, Nadine Gordimer.
Forward. The chair needs to be a bit forward for me. All right. This that I'm going to read now is a brief version of a story that I think timely in terms of our discussions that we're having about changing the world and indeed looking very, very closely and honestly at what is happening all around us. And I think it's particularly timely while the world, and Africa in particular, is a world of people facing conflicts and fleeing for asylum. The title is The Ultimate Safari, and I think this is the ultimate safari that the world is going through, with many thousands wandering from country to country. That night, our mother went to the shop, and she didn't come back, ever. What happened? I don't know. My father also had gone away one day and never come back, but he was fighting in the war. We were in the war too, but we were children, we didn't have guns. The people my father was fighting, they ran all over the place, and we ran away from them, like chickens chased by dogs. We didn't know where to go. Perhaps our mother met the soldiers. If you meet them, they will kill you. Twice they came to our village, and we ran and we hid in the bush. And when they were gone, we came back and we found they'd taken everything. But the third time they came, there was nothing to take. We were waiting there for our mother. That night she never came back. We were frightened even to go out to do our business because the soldiers did come. We heard people screaming and running, and we were afraid even to run without our mother to tell us where. I am the girl, and my little brother clung against my stomach with his arms round my neck and his legs round my waist like a baby monkey. We stayed there all day, waiting for her. I don't know what day it was. There was no school, no church anymore in our village. Our grandfather and grandmother came. Our grandmother took us back to her house. We waited. We waited a long time at our grandmother's place. We were hungry. Our mother never came. While we were waiting for her to fetch us, our grandmother had no food for us. A woman with milk in her breasts gave some for my little brother. Although at our house, he used to eat porridge, same as we did. So our grandmother decided we would go away. We children were pleased. We wanted to go away from where our mother wasn't and where we were hungry. We were glad to think that there was such a place away. To get there, we had to go through the Kruger Park, a kind of whole country of animals: elephants, lions, jackals, hyenas, hippos, crocodiles. So we started to go away again. There were other children like me who had to carry the little ones on their backs. A man led us through the Kruger Park. "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" I kept asking. "Oh, not yet," the man said. He told us we had to take a long way to get round the fence, which he explained would kill you. It would roast off your skin the moment you touched it, like the wires high up on poles that give electric light out in our towns. I've seen that kind of a head, bony head without eyes or skin or hair on an iron box at the mission hospital we used to have before it was blown up. So, we walked by night as well as by day. We were tired, so tired. My firstborn brother and the man had to lift our grandfather from stone to stone where we found a place to cross the rivers. Our grandmother's strong, but her feet were bleeding. We couldn't carry the basket on our heads any longer. We couldn't carry anything except my little brother. "As long as our bodies get there," our grandmother said. Then we ate some wild fruit we didn't know, and our stomachs ran. We were in the grass called elephant grass because it's nearly as tall as an elephant. That day we had those pains in our stomachs. And our grandfather couldn't just get down in front of people like my little brother. He went off into the grass to be on his own. But the man who led us kept telling us we must catch up. But we asked him to wait for our grandfather to catch up. We looked and looked, but we couldn't find him. We stayed in that long grass all night. When I woke up, he still wasn't anywhere. In the afternoon, the man who led us came to our grandmother and told her, "People must move on. If the children don't eat soon, they will die." Our grandmother said nothing. We watched the other people getting up to leave. I didn't believe the grass would be empty all around us where they had been, that we would be alone in this place, the Kruger Park. The animals would find us. So we left the place with the long grass, left behind. We started to go away again. There's a very big tent, bigger than a church or a school, tied down to the ground. The people in the village have let us join their school. I was surprised to find they speak our language, and our grandmother told me that's why they let us stay here on their land. Long ago, in the time of our great-grandfathers, there was no fence that kills you. There was no Kruger Park between them and us, the same people we were with our own king. Right from our village we left to this place we've come to. Some white people have come to take photographs. Photographs of us, the people living in the tent. A white woman squeezed into our space and asked our grandmother some questions, which were told to us in our language by someone who understands the white woman's. "How long have you been living like this?" Our grandmother said, "In this tent, 2 years and 1 month. "And what do you hope for the future?" "Nothing. I'm here." "But for your children?" "I want them to learn so that they can get good jobs and money." "Do you hope to go back to Mozambique, your own country?" I will not go back. But when the war's over, don't you want to go home? I didn't think that our grandmother was going to answer the white woman. The white woman put her head on one side and smiled at us. Our grandmother looked away from her and spoke. There is nothing, no home. Why does our grandmother say that? Why? I'll go back. I'll go back through that Kruger Park. After the war, if there are no soldiers anymore, our mother may be waiting for us. And maybe, when we left our grandfather, he was only left behind. He found his way somehow through that Kruger Park, and he'll be there. They'll be home, and I'll remember them.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pelle Olofsson and Adolf Fredriks Boys Choir.
Ut i bondestuga dansen ska stå, olla, olla. Spelar man på tunga spelar minst för två, olla, olla. Jäntorna de hoppar kring så lätt på tå, olla, la, 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 la. Jäntorna de hoppar kring så lätt på tå. Spela gärna bort till brudekransen. Lägg fiolen under hakan och dra till. Rätt på alla fyra strängar nu omkring. Så att ingen här på benen kastas till. Hej, 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 hej. Då blir det lust och liv i dansen. Starkt och slag och rocka tills vi börjar hicka. Tunga slag och dra ingenting vi gömma. Stampa takten pojkar, stampa takten pojkar, stampa takten pojkar. Så ska dansen gå. Öl och brännvin, stora muggar nu vi ska få. Gubbarna lägga snarare, stigar nu vi ska få. Gubbar, öl och brännvin, stora muggar nu vi ska få. Stångat och bredvid i halmen rullar. Dansen ska stå, olla, olla. Spelar man på tunga spelar minst för två, olla, olla. Jäntorna de hoppar kring så lätt på tå, olla, la, 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 la. Jäntorna de hoppar kring så lätt på tå. Spela gärna bort till brudekransen. Lägg fiolen under hakan och dra till. Rätt på alla fyra strängar nu omkring. Så att ingen här på benen kastas till. Hej, 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 hej.
We would like to conclude the concert with both the choirs presenting Across the Bridge of Hope.